I know there's a lot of you who were sitting around during the Gamergate days. So I got a little bit of an update. Like, if you guys thought Gamergate was done, you know they're never going to let it done, man. Gamergate is here again. Maybe if Trump tweets about it, Sargon could get his wish because Gamergate 2.0 looks like it's going to kick off. Although I'm quite sure the guys they're trying to rile up are just going to ignore it. But check out who they're inviting to the GDC. They invited someone from the Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism to speak at the Game Developer Conference, because that's totally important for game development, about how experts warn about rising extremism in gaming. Now, these same experts always gloss over the fact that this quote-unquote extremism is just a pushback for what the industry and the media is doing. Like I said on Twitter months ago, let me explain how toxicity in fandoms generally works. Because I know that there's always a lot of confusion there. So I'm going to explain to you now, once and for all, how fandom toxicity and extremism by extension actually works. So imagine you have a healthy body, human, animal, whatever. It's a living creature. You have a healthy body. A virus enters the body and starts fucking everything up. The body's immune system shows up to deal with the virus. And then the virus, of course, complains, really, why is everyone in this body so toxic? More extremism. That is fandom toxicity and extremism in a nutshell. These fake geeks, these outsiders, they try to force their way into your hobby and ruin everything you love about it. And as soon as you resist, toxic, extremism. That's all this is. And this is why gatekeeping is so goddamn important. The moment one of these bad actors outs themselves, kick them out. And if you're not in a position to kick them out, you and anyone you can convince should just mute them and not interact with them. These parasitic fake geeks need to know they're not welcome. Because seriously, the Game Developer Conference is a fucking joke. What the fuck does this have to do with game development? Unless you're trying to make a point, oh, yeah, you should be developing games for everyone but gamers because we're labeling gamers as toxic and extremist now. Go ahead. Go ahead and do it. See what happens. I'll just go back to playing Deep Rock Galactic, hentai games. I don't need you anyway. I'm pretty much done with all of AAA. I might get a AAA game once or twice a year. I think Elden Ring is my AAA game for this year. I have zero interest in anything else. So if this industry wants to sink themselves, go ahead. Far-right extremists are a growing presence in gaming, researchers have found. Yeah. So the people, the virus that's infecting the previously healthy body labels literally everything a far-right extremist. How many of you guys are Democrats? How many of you guys are leftists that have been called far-right extremists? Like, this term literally means nothing. I lost track of the number of Democrats I know who have been called far-right extremists. Yeah, while the industry's hidden metrics, lackluster content moderation, and head-in-the-sand attitudes get in the way of assessing and combating the problem. So, you know how there's a few game companies left that still care about actually making good games and want to stay out of this political bullshit? Well, we're going to whip them in line. Why it matters. Gaming and game-adjacent platforms have grown into some of the largest entertainment industries in the world, leading to massive opportunities for recruitment and organizing by extremist groups. Yeah, like Burn, Loot, Murder, Antifa, feminazism, social justice. All of those extremist organizations have been brainwashing new gamers. A December current -1 report that from the Extremism in Gaming Research Network, your taxpayer dollars right there, man, found that innovative efforts to prevent and counter violent extremism in gaming spaces are nearly undetectable. Yeah, state of play. Extremism in games is a growing threat. Alex Newhouse, deputy director of the Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism, said at the GDC last month. And they wonder why no one cares about the GDC. If I was a game developer and I was showing up to network with other developers and maybe learn about some new tools I can use and learn some tips and tricks from veterans, and the panels were all just shit like this, I'd never go back. Gamers are becoming increasingly social. Those social hooks provide the structures, or games, not gamers, and the infrastructure for extremists to organize, mobilize, spread their hateful and extreme ideologies, Newhouse said. So you know what this is? So to be fair, some criminal organizations have learned that that one of the best ways to communicate is boot up a game of Call of Duty and use the in-game voice chat as an example. So there are legit criminals that are using video games as a means to communicate with each other. And you know what that means? That means all the rest of us have to suffer. That means that everything needs to be monitored and restricted and spied on. Maybe even remove chatting the functionality to begin with. Like, that's what Nintendo does. Yeah, Nintendo, they limit you to, like, with when you're playing Mario Kart, for example, you can't chat with any of the other players. All you can do is send a few like pre-selected lines. That's what they want for all of gaming. Now, what's happening in games stretching from military shooters like Call of Duty to open creative environments like Roblox? Extremist groups spread abusive messages and foster relationships. I'm glad you're finally doing something about the social justice infestation. Experts like Rachel Cowart, research director at Take This, have found that games can create unique relationships due to the cooperative, stimulating experiences they present. Friendships are closer, long-lasting, and form faster than in other spaces on the internet. Yeah, I've actually met a few decent people in just from video games. Now, Newhouse said it was relatively easy to find signs of neo-Nazi and far-right fascist groups on Roblox, Discord, Games Marketplace, Steam, and other platforms. Not a single word about far-left Antifa, burn, loot, murder fascist groups, though. Those are allowed and encouraged. If you guys want to talk about extremism in gaming, how about you talk about the extreme left that's infested and ruined the space? So since much of the player data is private, researchers say they lack detailed knowledge of which games or platforms extremists use the most for these activities. Nor, according to Cowart, has there been a overt cooperation with many studios to share that data. No, really? You mean the studios actually care about their customers' privacy? Wow, that's a fucking shock. I'm legit surprised. Normally, they'd be more than happy to sell. Oh, that's what this is about, isn't it? I was about to say they'd be more than happy to sell it. These fuckers want that data for free. They're not willing to buy it. In a current year -3 report, the Pro Defamation League, or Adult Diaper League, whichever you prefer, found that 53% of online multiplayer game players who experience harassment believe they're targeted because of their race, ethnicity, religion, ability, gender, or sexual orientation. 99% of the time, it's ability. Yes, if it's a team-based game and you fucking suck, of course your team is going to be salty at you. Like, man, we would have won if dipshit over here wasn't holding us back. Now, you notice the key points in the wording here? 53% believe. They took a self-reported survey. I believe I was harassed because of my skin color. Who cares? Doesn't make it true. Now, the same report found that almost 1 in 4 players said they've been exposed to discussions about white supremacist ideology. So remember, just like racist, just like alt-right, white supremacist ideology is literally everything that's not approved regressive ideology. Like, if you're not parroting their talking points 100%, you're a white supremacist. So that term also means nothing, like all the other terms they've destroyed. The more time you spend immersed in gaming cultures, the greater likelihood you're exposed to extreme ideologies. Yes, extreme leftist ideologies are rampant in gaming. Still, to this day, they're trying to completely co-opt the space. Or opportunities to have to internalize those beliefs and endorse more extreme behaviors. Yep, they're seriously trying real hard to spin up another Gamergate. So they're going to do this on purpose. They're going to keep poking us until we fight back. And then, see, look, we told you they were bad. So just block them, mute them, ignore them. Any developer that gets on board with this, never buy their shit again. There's so many good indies out there. We don't need these fuckers. We don't even need to fight them. All we got to do is starve them. This is a battle of attrition at this point. So what they're saying, while it may be a small number of players compared to the billions of players, they are very hardened, very influential, and very dangerous group of people who are living their lives in these gaming spaces, and little to no consequence to their actions or behaviors, Court told Axios. Oh, that's what this is about. They're going to use this as another excuse to try to remove anonymity. And let me just reiterate what I believe is going to happen. So if they ever succeed in removing anonymity, whether it be from the internet as a whole, just certain social media sites, like certain video games, the same people that are demanding for an end to anonymity now will be the ones that are calling to get it back within a few weeks. Because here's what's going to happen. The online social justice hate mob is going to dogpile somebody and ruin their life like they do now, except the difference is without any anonymity, the person whose life they ruin is going to be able to know exactly who they are. And one day they're going to fuck with the wrong person, and that person's going to know they got nothing left to lose anyway, so they figure they're going to make the world a better place on their way out. And all of a sudden, these same lunatics that were shrieking to end anonymity on the internet so they can go after alt-right Nazis will be shrieking to get it back because the alt-right Nazis aren't just going to lay there and take it. Guarantee you that's how it's going to go down. And also, as Rojigami points out, it's going to be a lot harder for them to make it look like they have support when they can't run 50 sock puppet accounts anymore. That's so damn true. The big picture, to court gaming's extremist problem has grown to its imposing size because of ignorance, discomfort around the topic, and unwillingness to understand the threat. I actually agree with this. The extreme leftist infiltration in gaming is so big because most players are ignorant. It's like, oh, I just want a good game. I don't give a fuck about what's happening at the developer. And discomfort, yeah, they don't want to talk that their favorite developer literally wants them to die. And unwillingness to understand the threat. Yep. You guys remember 10 years ago when we were warning about this, we just getting brushed off? It's just a bunch of college losers. Who the fuck cares what they have to say? What can they do anyway? So this is actually a true statement. It just doesn't apply to the group that they think it applies to. It says the lack of self-awareness is insane. I don't think it's been recognized as something important, worth their time, worth their money, worth their effort. I agree. Game developers need to realize that leftist, extremist social justice infiltration in their space needs to be thwarted. And the lack of current data keeps solutions from emerging, as the EGRN report found most research on games and radicalization was conducted on now antiquated games. How about you actually pay up for that data? I can guarantee you, these companies would happily sell you the data, but the problem is you want it for free. Negative perceptions of video games, like violence or addiction, might also keep the industry leaders from wanting to look too closely into how hate groups are building networks. Yeah, one of the things I find funny is the same people that still perpetuate those negative stereotypes now pretend to be one of us. Now that gaming is popular, they pretend to be gamers while continuing to shit on us in exactly the same way they did before. And we're constantly battling all these bad narratives, which takes energy away from actually looking at actual threats that are truly festering in these spaces and addressing them properly. Again, 100% true statement. I agree with this. It's because these companies are so scared of the public perception that they'd get for purging their woke, regressive, extremist activists from their ranks that they refuse to address it. The Entertainment Software Association, the leading industry group for games, declined to comment. Yeah, who makes up the ESA? All the big AAA companies. So the intrigue, this spread of extremism in gaming is similar to how we've seen on social media platforms like Facebook, but with significant differences. We know that with the big and giant social media companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter have dedicated counterterrorism teams and are working on this day in and day out. We also know that video games simply just often don't have the resources to stand up to counterterrorism teams specifically, or don't have the expertise necessary to do so. How the fuck is it any of their problem? Now, I will say, if this becomes a cost of doing business for live services, I actually fully support this, because whatever forces game developers to drop the live service business model and go back to making regular games, I'm actually in full support of. So if you want to make it a requirement that if you want to host a live service, you have to waste all these resources doing the government's job for them, I wouldn't be against it, just because it might make live services unprofitable again, so these companies will stop doing it. But something tells me that's not what's going to happen. So the other side, we abhor extremist ideologies, have zero tolerance for extremist content of any kind on Roblox. Remy Milan, VP of Trust and Safety Operations at Roblox, sent a statement to Axios. Because of the swift, proactive steps we take, extremist content is extremely rare on our platform, and therefore, for the vast majority of the Roblox community who do not seek out such content, it is very unlikely they'll be exposed to it. Yeah, see, that's true. And this is the case for the vast majority of games and platforms, too. You only encounter that content under two conditions. If you're actively hunting it, or if you're one of these snowflakes that views any disagreement as extremist content. Those are the only two ways you generally find it. Discord has a zero-tolerance policy towards hate and violent extremism of any kind, unless they're from Antifa and Burn, Loot, Murder, in which case they endorse that. A Discord spokesperson told Axios, so when we come across such activity, we take immediate action, including banning users and shutting down servers and engaging with authorities when appropriate. Unless it's far-left extremism, in which case they fully support and endorse it. Remember, that's the caveat. But what do you guys think? You guys, you guys think they're doing a good job trying to kick up another Gamergate? How long until 20 fake news outlets all drop the same "Gamers Are Dead" article? I'm actually betting it's going to be pretty soon, because the game journalists, they need us. We don't need them. In fact, we'd rather they disappear, because they're causing copious amounts of harm to the industry and hobby that we love. We'd be way better off without sites like Kotaku or Polygon or all of them. If they just disappeared, the world would be a better place. The game industry would be a better place. But they need us, because they already chased away all their fans, the actual gamers. No actual gamers read those rags. The only way they can get views is drama. So if we don't give them that drama, they will disappear. They will go bankrupt. So don't fall for the bait. Talk about it here and there, maybe, but the last thing we need is another Gamergate kicking up. This is a desperate move on their part. They need us so they can get those sweet clicks. Don't give them the attention. In fact, I suggest if you're on Twitter, block them. If they try to contact you, block them. Don't give them the time of day. If you stop interacting with them, soon enough, they're going to go broke. Buzzfeed is already on the verge of bankruptcy. We just got to keep pushing a little bit more.